Hey listeners, welcome back to Infinite Podcast with your hosts, me and the ever-curious Simon. Dive in with us as we unravel the DNA of iconic brands today. So Simon, an iconic brand isn't just profitable, it's ingrained in culture, right? Like Apple, it's not about gadgets anymore, it's a lifestyle for folks. The logo, the catchphrases, these companies mastered the art of making them unforgettable. Now what's a company you think hit that sweet branding jackpot?
Oh, you're hitting home with that, Joe. But let's swerve a bit. What about Lego? Talk about building an empire, pun intended. Those little bricks, they aren't just toys, they're childhood incarnate. Color scheme, rainbow chaos, and their slogan, only the best is good enough? Genius. They've got adults and kiddos hooked, making killer movies now, too. Bricks might be for play, but their brand game, serious business.
Rainbow Chaos, Simon. I'd argue Lego's color scheme is more strategic than chaotic. It's clever marketing, versatility that appeals across generations. Just slapping colorful bricks together doesn't cut it. And their movies? Well, they turned a simple toy into a storytelling powerhouse. But let's not get swept away. There's strategy behind every playful move. Don't you think part of their success comes from calculated nostalgia and not just product quality?
Oh, absolutely, Joe. It's like they've got a time machine. Lego whisks us back to the good old days when our biggest worry was stepping on a brick barefoot. It's not just selling toys, it's selling memories, man. And that logo? You see those four letters and boom, you're 7 years old again. Plus, their quality is top-notch. So yeah, calculated nostalgia, big check. They serve up the past with a side of impeccable craft. Killer combo, if you ask me.
Selling memories, for sure. Lego's logo is time travel on a billboard. Quality's the cherry on top. But Simon, nostalgia alone can't sustain a brand long term. Innovation has to walk hand in hand with memory lane, don't you think?
Innovation. Schminnovation. Sometimes it's overrated, Joe. Look at Coca-Cola. Their biggest win is sticking with the classic. They dabbled with New Coke in the 80s and nearly toppled an empire. Sometimes brands just need to stay in their lane. It's that consistency that keeps people coming back. We don't always want the next big thing. We crave the comfort of the familiar. That red can, that scripted logo, it's like a warm hug from history.
I hear you on the classic approach, but let's not get comfy in that lane, Simon. Yes, Coke's New Coke flop is legendary, but so are their global campaigns. Without evolving, brands might as well be museum pieces. Take Apple. They could have stuck with the first iPhone, but instead they innovate relentlessly, and it pays off. So familiarity breeds contentment. Sure, but doesn't evolution breed excitement and keep a brand from going stale?
Hey newbies, if you're just tuning in, here's the skinny. We're chewing the fat about what makes a brand stick like gum on a hot sidewalk. Think Apple, Lego, Coca-Cola, how they're not just peddling products, but lifestyles, memories, the whole shebang. Joe's all about evolution, keeping brands fresh, while I'm giving a high five to those playing the nostalgia card. It's like a tug of war between cozy old blankets and shiny new toys. Stick around as we keep pulling at this thread.
Sure, Simon. Innovation isn't just about the latest tech or wild redesigns. It's also about how you present that cozy old blanket in a world of shiny new toys. Apple evolves but keeps its core aesthetics. It's a balance, blending comfort with surprise. The DNA of a brand like Apple includes consistency, but their market position is bolstered by a commitment to pushing boundaries while keeping that iconic image polished. Change doesn't erase identity, it should enhance it.
Polished? Joe, they've got us eating right out of their shiny high-tech palms. But let me toss a wrench in here. Is pushing those boundaries always a slam dunk? I mean, sure, we love a good, sleek eye whatever coming out, but honestly, when's the last time you went, wow, at an iPhone launch? It's like they're just adding another camera each year and calling it innovation. Maybe brands should chuck the polish sometimes and just startle us awake with something bonkers. Stir the pot. You know, keep people guessing. That's what makes them iconic.
Hold on, Simon. Startle us awake with something bonkers, huh? Are you suggesting brands like Apple should throw their playbook out the window in favor of bold risks? Would that actually work, or might it alienate their loyal following who expect a certain level of polish and predictability?
Alienate? No way, Joe. Look, A brand's got to keep the fans happy, for sure. But think about it. When everything's all predictable and shiny, doesn't that get boring? You've got to shake up the snow globe sometimes to make a blizzard. People talk about those bold moves, even if they flop. It's like that friend who always wears beige, then shows up in neon green one day. You'd remember that, right? Brands need that neon green moment to carve out a legacy. Not all the time, but enough to keep us on our toes.
Fair enough, Simon. I get the point about the neon green moment. A little shock factor can cement a brand's iconic status in the public mind. But it's a fine line. If everybody starts pulling stunts, we just end up with a muddled mess of brands trying too hard to outshine each other, which might blur that crisp image they work so hard to etch into our brains. Consistency has its place. It tells customers, we're still the brand you trust. But sure, a little jolt of unexpected can keep the legacy from collecting dust.
Okay, picture this. You're strolling down memory lane with your tried and true brand, but suddenly there's a fork in the road. Joe, you've got to admit, sticking to the trust us script can start to sound like a broken record. People get itchy for change, even if they don't know it yet. Let's not forget the rebels, the rule breakers. They rewrite the story, and suddenly everybody wants a chapter of that book. Consistency is comfy slippers, sure, but aren't we forgetting the thrill of lacing up those flashy new kicks? That's where the magic happens, man. It's what keeps a brand from being just a logo on a page to becoming the poster on our walls.
Rebels and rule breakers, eh? Look, Simon, there's buzz in being bold, but iconic status isn't just about who's breaking the mold today. It's about long-term resonance. A brand that's constantly chasing the thrill becomes a one-hit wonder. Hot today, forgotten tomorrow. Maybe it's not just about flashy kicks or comfy slippers. It's about knowing when to lace up which. Remember, the brands we're talking about have managed to stick around for decades. Flash gets attention, but substance keeps you on the poster.
Man, Joe, you're talking about brands like they're some ancient turtles, slow and steady winning the race. But give me a brand that's part Jack in the Box, a little surprise here I am, mixed with your granny's apple pie. Familiar, but always has that secret spice, making you come back for more. 'Cause let's be real, if Granny ever lost her recipe book, well, who needs another plain old pie?
Fair play, Simon, but let's distill that metaphor a bit. A brand like Jack in the Box meets Granny's apple pie means having an identity, a DNA that's rock solid yet flexible enough to surprise and delight at the right moments. If Granny loses her recipe book, nostalgia alone won't save the pie. It's her secret spice, that unique twang in its identity that keeps us craving more. Evolution and surprise within the framework of their identity is the real secret sauce of those billion-dollar brands.
Absolutely, Joe. It's that secret sauce, the core DNA of a brand that really counts. You've got to have your signature move, the handshake everyone recognizes. When you eat at McDonald's anywhere in the world, you know what you're going to get. That big yellow M isn't just about burgers, it's about walking into their joint and feeling like, ah, I'm home, no matter where on the globe you are. And then they toss in something like a meat rib out of left field, and bam! Old love with a new twist. That's how these brands write their own billion-dollar tales.
Exactly, Simon. That golden M isn't just selling food, it's selling familiar comfort wrapped in those arches. You're home with a side of fries, and then the McRib hits like an unexpected encore at a rock concert. Same great band, new killer song. Cracking the code to those billion-dollar images is digging into that blend of consistency and surprise. Makes you wonder what secret ingredients are other iconic brands hiding up their sleeves.
You know what, Joe? Speaking of these secret ingredients, it takes more than just a splashy logo or comfort food to keep folks truly loyal. Is it genuine love for the product, or are we all just suckers for slick marketing? It feels like there's a whole mess of psychology behind why we swear by our favorite brands. And I wonder, at the heart of it, how much is trust and clear-cut business ethics worth in this tango between brands and their die-hard fans?
It's a mix, Simon. Savvy marketing gets them through the door. Genuine love keeps them there. Ethics are gold. They build trust and loyalty that survives beyond the hype. Brids.
So then, Joe, do you reckon If brands peeled back the curtains on their business shenanigans and played it straight, pure transparency, would that beef up their bottom line in the long run? Would customers stick around for the honesty encore?
Man, Simon, peeling back that curtain, that's everything. If people see you're not bullshitting them, that trust forms the bedrock of loyalty. Customers can smell phoniness a mile away, and once they catch a whiff, good luck winning them back. But show them your human side, admit to flubs, and be real about what you're selling. That's where respect comes in. And respect? Yeah, that turns into dollars. It's a long game, though, not just a quick buck.
Sure, Joe, the long game of trust is key. I'm with you. But consider this. If every brand's singing Kumbaya and being Mr. Nice Guy, where's the edge? Can't raw ambition and cutthroat competition spice up loyalty too? There's a thrill in rooting for the underdog rising to the top or the giant that keeps swinging punches. Sometimes we just love the drama of it all, maybe more than we like to admit.
Hey, latecomers, you've jumped into a spicy talk about what keeps us coming back to our favorite brands. Is it love or just clever ads? We've been chewing over if showing the raw truth behind a brand can turn customers into loyal fans for life. And don't worry, we tossed in a dash of drama discussing whether brands need to keep that competitive fire burning to stay interesting. Stick around for more Beyond the Hype, the philosophy behind consumer loyalty. Insights here on Infinite Podcast.
You know, Joe, this chat reminds me of my Uncle Ricky's old diner. He had the greasiest, most heart-clogging burgers. They were legendary in our hood. Now, flashy new places popped up over time, and marketing smarts said he should change to keep up. But Rick, stubborn as a mule, he kept it all about the food, the service, his way. No frills. Folks thought the diner would crash and burn, but that transparency, staying true blue, it made his spot an institution. People didn't just eat there. They were part of its story. It wasn't about eating, it was home. He never advertised much, but that diner, always packed.
Man, that hits right in the feels. There's something special about places like Uncle Ricky's, where it's not just a product but an experience, like joining a family every time you step through the door. It's proof loyalty goes beyond flashy tricks. It's honesty, consistency, being part of a community. That's the heart and soul of true brand loyalty. No ad campaign can buy the love people had for that diner. It was real. Just goes to show, Simon, sometimes the secret ingredient is just staying true to who you are.
But think about it, Joe. There's always that flip side. Staying true. Is it enough? Hear me out. Uncle Rick's made it work, sure, but every beloved local spot ain't making a killing. Places with genuine feels close down daily while the big sharks keep swimming. Doesn't it sting a little to confess that even with all the loyalty in the world, without some heavy-hitter ad moves or cutthroat strategy, you could be the best and still get lost at sea? It's a jungle out there.
You're nailing a harsh truth, Simon. Loyalty alone can't pay the bills. There's more to this machine. Brand success is a cocktail: unique value proposition, market understanding, strategic positioning, and yes, an element of aggressive marketing. All are critical ingredients. Local spots become irreplaceable community cornerstones, but scaling up, competing with giants, it takes more firepower in today's crowded marketplace where attention is a currency. And most importantly, businesses must adapt without betraying their core values. Those who thrive have mastered this dance. This is how some scrappy underdogs become top dogs, while others stay content as local heroes or sadly close shop. It does sting. It's survival of the smartest, not just the fittest.
And in the ultimate plot twist, Joe, your loyalty card punches become more valuable than Bitcoin. Am I right? Maybe we start trading those instead of stocks. I've got 50 punches at Uncle Rick's will be the new Wall Street hot tip. But seriously, it's like some brands are playing checkers while others are 4 moves ahead in 3D chess. And sometimes, just having a killer secret sauce still won't get you the crown.
You're onto something. A loyalty card with enough punches might one day be worth its virtual weight in crypto. But circling back, even the most beloved secret sauce in the world can't stand alone against a well-oiled marketing strategy and a proactive approach to trends and consumer behavior. Loyalty won't keep the lights on if you don't play the game wisely. Businesses need to think like chess grandmasters, anticipating moves, adapting tactics. It's not just about being good at the game, it's about knowing which game you're playing and how it's changing. That's the difference between brands that create a legacy and those that become cautionary tales. It's all about balance, marrying timeless values with smart, forward-thinking strategies.
Joe, as much fun as it'd be to hold Loyalty Card Olympics, there's some real meat to chew on here. So let me toss this bone. What if the chase for trends and newfangled strategies is exactly what nukes a brand's soul? We tell stories of these legacy brands sticking it out through thick and thin. Yet, when I see an old-timer brand get all gussied up chasing fads, trying to speak like the kids, oh boy, does it reek of desperation. Sometimes, isn't it wiser to just stay in your lane? It might be less about balancing and more about knowing damn well where you stand in the first place.
Oh. So Simon, what you're throwing down is this. Isn't there a risk that a brand could lose its essence by bending too far to trends and marketing ploys? Like, where's the line between staying relevant and selling out your brand's soul?
Oh, absolutely, Joe. There's a fat line between jazzing things up and chucking your brand's heart right out the window. Here's the rub. You morph to keep up with the Joneses, and next thing you know, no one recognizes you at the family reunion. If the essence of what people loved gets lost in the sauce of trends, then any loyalty built on that original vibe heads out the door with it. Brands can start looking like they're wearing someone else's clothes. Awkward, mate. Is that updated look snazzy? Maybe. But if grandma shows up in a leather jacket and ripped jeans, I'm going to have questions.
Spot on. The philosophy beyond the hype at its core is about authenticity. Customers sniff out inauthenticity faster than they swipe left on a bad Tinder profile. Playing dress up might catch some eyes, but will it warm hearts? Doubtful. Brands need to evolve without shedding their skin entirely. It's all about staying true while staying fresh, progress without losing your identity. And that, my friend, is as fine an art as making Uncle Rick's greasy, legendary burgers. It's that genuineness, that je ne sais quoi, that forges unbreakable loyalty. That's where businesses truly win, a space where changes are subtle shifts, not tectonic quakes that rattle the foundation of trust.
Absolutely, Joe. Navigating that tightrope between true blue and fresh and new is where the magic happens. I wonder what mishaps or triumphs brands have faced while walking that high wire. When do they know they've nailed it or totally face-planted? How about we dive into some epic brand wins and fails next? That should be a hoot.
You know, Simon, as we're digging into brands sticking to their roots or donning a new look, this tees us up for some classic face plants that turned into victory laps. Let's pivot and chew over those wild marketing fails that, by some twist of fate, actually worked out way better than anyone could have planned. Remember the fast food joint that tweeted something ridiculous and everyone lost their minds? Ended up being the best thing that happened to them. They sold more burgers that month than ever. Let's dive into that kind of whoops that turns to gold.
Loyal listeners and fresh ears, welcome back to Infinite Podcast. We were just about to serve up some juicy stories of epic marketing blunders that turned into major wins. Think fast food tweets gone wrong, but somehow boosting sales through the roof. Stick around as we dive into these happy accidents and giggle over how a facepalm moment can flip to a victory dance. Ever heard of a fail so good it brings in the cash? You're about to.
Yeah, those blunders can be pure gold. It sparks a question, though. Do you think brands can, or even should, try to engineer these happy accidents, or is the charm lost if it's all just calculated chaos?
Joe, brands engineering disasters for clout? That's like setting your house on fire, hoping to get featured in a home renovation magazine. Sure, you might score a glossy spread and some sympathy points, but chances are you're just going to get burned. Literally. The magic of these blunders turned gold is all about the authenticity. People can smell a marketing stunt gone fake deliberately wrong from miles away. Pull that, and you're more likely to go viral for being the brand that tried too hard. Hashtag epic fail, anyone? Nope. I say let the chips fall where they may. It's the real whoopsies that end up being the jackpot.
Absolutely, Simon. You've hit the nail on the head. Real mishaps, they're relatable, They show humanity. Flaws make us who we are, and that's what resonates with people. It's like watching someone trip but then land a perfect somersault. You cheer because it's genuine. When a brand tries to force it, it just doesn't hit that sweet spot of authenticity. That's when you lose trust instead of gaining fans. So yeah, let the chips fall where they may, and when they do, maybe, just maybe, you'll strike gold.
Hey there, new listeners joining the party. Glad you could tune in. I'm Simon, and together with Joe, we've been chewing the fat on incredible marketing flops that accidentally turned into a gold rush. We're talking about those oops moments from brands that somehow win over hearts and open wallets wider than anyone planned. Genuine goofs, not manufactured mess-ups. That's what gets people talking and brands unexpectedly booming. Just remember, sometimes when you slip on the banana peel, you might just land in a pot of gold. Stay with us for more chuckles and chats on Infinite Podcast.
So Simon, quick thought. Do you think there's a line where brands should draw the beef in these oops moments? Or is it all fair game in the viral marketing rodeo?
Joe, let's not sugarcoat it. There's definitely a no-fly zone when we talk about these blunders. It's all giggles and grins until someone crosses that line and really offends or misleads people, right? If your oops makes the crowd scream foul instead of asking for an encore, you've botched it big time. So sure, take risks, be bold, but don't forget your compass at home. Sponsors and fans might applaud a prank gone right, but they'll ditch you at lightning speed for one gone wrong. Brands, listen up. Know your audience, know your limits, and maybe keep a net handy for that high-wire act.
Yeah, you're spot on, Simon. And when that line gets crossed, it's no laughing matter anymore. It hits different, and not in the good way, leaves a bad taste in everyone's mouth. Brands got to remember that with great power comes great responsibility. Wield it wisely or prepare for the fallout. There's real people at receiving end of these messages. Don't forget, it's a tightrope walk, not a free fall. Empathizing and being human, that's key.
Couldn't agree more, Joe. It's about striking that balance, respecting your audience, while still having a laugh. Mishaps can be marketing gold, but they can also be a one-way ticket to whoopsie-daisy purgatory. Brands gotta keep it real, and remember there's an art to turning bloopers into buzz. Any of our listeners got a favorite marketing misstep that turned into a win? Drop us a comment. We're all ears. Where should we take this next, Joe?
Speaking of unexpected turns, it's fascinating how sometimes a brand can aim for one market and unintentionally hit the jackpot with a totally different audience. This leads us smoothly into those niche markets where brands have struck gold in places they never even considered. Take the iconic off-road vehicle that ended up being a status symbol in high-end urban neighborhoods, or a snack that flopped domestically but became a sensation abroad. There's some alchemy in knowing or even stumbling onto those uncharted demographics. Let's navigate this globe of golden niches and see if we find X marks the spot. What do you think, Simon?
You know, Joe, chasing after these niche markets is like tossing your message in a bottle into the ocean and hoping it washes up on some remote treasure-filled shore. It's a wild shot in the dark. These success stories, while they're inspirational, let's be real, they're rare. You think every off-road vehicle is going to become the next stretch limo for celebs? Not a chance. And those snack brand surprises? They're the unicorns of the marketing world. Most attempts probably end up being fodder for fish instead of finding that X marks the spot. Wonder what overlooked demographics might be out there, though. Gamers over 60? Pet owners who love skydiving? The possibilities are endless, but brands need more than just luck. They've got to nail cultural understanding to strike gold.
I'm picturing the next hot trend being gamers over 60, streaming their skydiving sessions. Now that's a niche waiting to be discovered, Simon.
Absolutely wild to imagine, Joe. But hey, in a world where folks are watching other people eat online, who's to say silver-haired skydiving streamers aren't the next big hit? It screams untapped potential. What kind of products do you think would fly off the shelves for thrill-seeking seniors in the gaming community?
Well, for our sky-high seniors, think specialized gaming controllers that cater to ergonomic needs, or VR headsets tailored for those who wear glasses. Because let's face it, accessibility in gaming can be a serious hurdle. And there's already a taste of this market. Remember the surprising success with the elderly in VR tech, helping them travel the world virtually from their living rooms? Talk about smashing stereotypes. The demographics often sidelined by marketers could, in fact, have some serious spending power when recognized and catered to correctly. How about custom parachutes with extra cushion landings for that soft touchdown post-game session? Because why not blend comfort with the thrill, right, Simon?
Joe, those ideas are cool and all, but let's hit the brakes for a sec. Specialized controllers and padded parachutes. It's a stretch, don't you think? Seizing these uncharted demographics isn't just about quirky products. It's a deeper dive into understanding their lifestyles and needs. The VR success with seniors wasn't because the tech was flashy, it's because it connected them to new experiences in an accessible way. That's where the gold is. There's such a thing as too niche, like throwing darts blindfolded hoping to hit that bullseye. Brands need to find the sweet spot between unique and universal, or they risk making products for an audience of one.
For sure, Simon. Diversifying isn't about wild ideas out of left field. That sweet spot is at the intersection of innovation and genuine need. When brands sync with the heartbeat of a niche market, that's the power play. Real usefulness trumps novelty every time, like adapting tech to break down age barriers or customizing products for climates where standard items just won't cut it. It's less flash in the pan, more igniting a sustained spark. This isn't throwing darts in the dark. It's about being laser-focused on creating value where it's truly needed. Brands take note. Uncharted doesn't mean unrealistic.
You nailed it, Joe. Brands got to tune in to the actual beat of these markets, not just throw tech and trends at them. Making actual differences. That's how you light lasting fires, not just spark fleeting flames.
So Simon, where do you think brands could look next to uncover these real value-driven opportunities in underserved or overlooked demographics?
Brands ought to keep an ear to the ground and eyes wide open. There's gold in the gaps, places we're not looking, groups we're not hearing, needs we're not meeting. Whether it's adapting tech for differently abled folks or eco-friendly goods in areas feeling climate impacts hardest, the key is empathy and action. Somewhere out there, a niche is waiting to be more than just a niche. All right, Joe, where to from here?
You know, Simon, just like tapping into the right demographics can transform a product from niche to necessity, there's another layer really worth sniffing out, and that's scent. And I'm not just talking perfume or air fresheners, but how brands across the spectrum use scent as an invisible branding iron seared into our memory. Take how some high-end stores pump out a signature fragrance that forms part of your shopping experience. Or car manufacturers implementing a specific new car smell. Studies show our noses can tie us to a brand almost as tightly as a catchy jingle. That olfactory hook isn't just blowing smoke, it can pull customers back in by the nose. Quite literally, scent has the power to influence identity and loyalty. Let's dive nose first into this, Simon.
For sure, scent can tug at our memories, Joe, but I'm going to play devil's advocate here. Dropping a signature smell into your shopping spree might seem smart, but not everyone wants to walk out smelling like a walking advertisement, literally. Plus, what if you associate that smell with something not so great? It could backfire, in a nosedive kind of way. The point is, while scent can be a potent part of the branding mix, it's also super subjective. One person's heaven-scented paradise is another's fragrance fiasco. Brands need to consider this olfactory tightrope carefully.
Definitely a tightrope, Simon. So how should brands navigate the potential pitfalls of scent marketing to avoid those fragrance fiascos?
Brands gotta do their homework, Joe. It's all about hit and miss with scents, so solid research is key. Know your audience. What smells resonate? Do they match the brand's vibe? It's like pairing a fine wine with dinner. You wouldn't serve fish with a bold red. Subtlety's also huge. Nobody likes to get blasted by a wall of perfume when they walk into a place. It's like a background track, not the main show. Get it right, it's magic. Get it wrong, and well, you get the picture.
You've hit the nail on the head, Simon. Subtlety is key, right? Because overt or mismatched scents say amateur hour. But I'll raise you one. Even with all that research, isn't there a chance brands could still miss the target audience's nose? We've seen epic fails where scents turn customers off. It's like hearing nails on a chalkboard, but via smell. A scent can easily turn from a background track to an annoying buzz nobody can ignore. Plus, the idea of pumping artificial scents feels, well, inauthentic. Isn't authentic experience what we're chasing after? Brands walking this fragrant tightrope need more than just subtlety and research. They need authenticity. Scents should effortlessly embody what the brand stands for, not act as a cover-up or an overpowering statement.
Absolutely, Joe. Authenticity is where it's at. A scent should be a natural extension of what the brand represents. Just cramming scents down customers' noses won't cut it. It's got to feel like a perfect fit, not an add-on. Let's take hotels, for instance. They've been acing this game for ages. A high-end resort might infuse lobbies with a soothing sea breeze scent to make guests feel at peace and on vacation right as they step in. It needs to align so well with the brand image that when customers catch even a whiff elsewhere, their brain autopilots to those good vibes from the brand. And this isn't some new age hocus pocus. There's science backing how deeply scent is woven into our memory tapestry. Olfaction hits parts of our brains linked to emotion and recollection. Hence, brands that nail their scent create these powerful, hardwired connections with consumers. So yeah, research and authenticity are the power duo for brands looking to seriously play and win the scent game.
Definitely, Simon. Look at the facts. There's this part of your brain called the olfactory bulb. It's linked to the amygdala and the hippocampus, which are all about emotion and memory. It explains why a whiff can take you back years in an instant. Hotel chains using that sea breeze smell bank on this connection. Guests remember their relaxed vacation vibe long after checkout. In retail, studies have shown specific scents can increase customer dwell time and even sales. Brands like Abercrombie & Fitch, with their trademark fragrance, create a distinctive sensory brand footprint. In contrast, signature Lexus leather scent aims to solidify luxury impressions every time you get behind the wheel. This isn't sprinkling fairy dust and hoping for magic, it's strategic use of biology to drive branding home. And then there's multi-sensory branding, where sight, sound, touch, taste, and yes, smell are wrapped into one. It creates an immersive experience, and scent is paramount, especially when the other senses are occupied, like eating. Ever notice how bakeries often leave the oven door open? That's not by accident. They're playing 4D chess while we're out here sniffing the breadcrumbs. But remember, authenticity rules. Customers spot fake a mile away these days.
Talk about sensory espionage. Next thing you know, we'll have smells encoded with hidden messages. Buy the cake, buy the cake.
That's one way to bake subliminal persuasion right into the pie, Simon. Who needs advertising jingles when a whiff could secretly tell us to eat fresh or just do it?
Oh man, the power of scent and branding is basically stealth mode for marketing. Sneak into your brain, whisper some sweet nothings, and next thing you know, you're hooked. Makes me wonder which brands could nail this with a killer signature scent or, actually benefit from one. Imagine if tech gadgets started having their own scents. What's your take on that, Joe?
True, Simon. We often overlook that behind every signature scent is an artist, a perfume chemist. They live in a world where one drop can change everything. These folks need to have a foot in both worlds, art and science. It's their gig to distill a brand's essence into a sensory experience that resonates on a personal level while making sure the chemistry doesn't blow up your nostrils. In their lab coats, they're like modern-day wizards brewing potions. The ethics? Well, that's a rabbit hole. Sure, there's a line between crafting a scent that captivates and one that manipulates, just like any form of branding. But at its core, the craft aligns closer to artistry, because like any form of expression, perfumery stirs emotion and creates connections that go beyond a chemical reaction. What are your thoughts on this blend of creativity and ethics in the olfactory industry, Simon?
Wizards in lab coats, that's for sure, Joe. But let's strip the romance off for a second. Every wizard has got to decide whether they're mingling potions for good or, the other thing. Ethics in scent making slip into gray areas faster than a skunk at a perfume convention. Take addictive scents. Is it ethical? Are we creating aromatic traps just to sell products? Sure, we can call it artistry, but when you're concocting something that's meant to sway decision-making subconsciously, that's a bit of a head-scratcher. This isn't tossing paint on canvas. It's chemistry with solid intent, towing the line between wow factor and whoa, hold up. It's a dance, all right, but who leads? Art or ethics? It's a tangled tango, and these perfumers need to nail their steps flawlessly. Seems like it's less about ending with the perfect scent and more about not stepping on any ethical toes while they're at it.
I'd say it's quite a high-stakes dance, Simon, like diffusing a bomb with aromas instead of cutting wires. Every choice could be the one that blows up in their face, ethically speaking.
Man, your diffusing a bomb comment just reminded me of this hilarious thing that happened at my cousin's wedding. They wanted to personalize everything, right? So they figured, hey, why not have a custom scent for the venue? Well, let me tell you, Joe, they went full DIY, bought essential oils and stuff, thought they were perfume chemists, ended up with something smelling like a pine forest collided with a fruit stand. Not only was it overpowering, but some guests started sneezing like crazy. My aunt looked like she'd been cutting onions the whole evening. Talk about explosive results. If ever there was a perfect example of why we leave things to professionals, especially when chemistry's involved, that was it. You need that expert who knows one wrong move could blow the lid off the whole experience.
Oh man, that's rough for your cousin. Nobody wants their special day to be remembered as the allergy fest. It really paints a vivid picture. Hiring a pro seems pretty crucial when playing with scents.
You're not wrong there, Joe. Pros are crucial because getting that sniff test right is an absolute art. But here's a twist. Imagine if these chemists went rogue and started creating scent bombs for the pure chaos of it, like olfactory pranksters leaving scented landmines that unbox memories or moods you didn't ask for. Sure, we value their skills when they enhance our shopping spree or dinner date vibe. Still, isn't there something thrilling about those mad geniuses potentially stirring up a sensory revolution, all in the name of art or protest? Maybe that's just the anarchist in me talking, but what if perfumers decided to break the good scent-only mold?
That would be a wild ride, Simon. It's like the ultimate act of scent rebellion against the status quo. Let's talk facts. There's historical precedent for using scents in protest. Take, for example, the 18th century French revolutionaries who wore certain perfumes as political statements. Fast forward to today, and we've got scent artists creating exhibitions that evoke everything from dystopian futures to nostalgic pasts. And the background work? It's meticulous. Perfume chemists don't just mix smells. They tailor aromatic compounds down to the molecule. They must balance top, middle, and base notes for longevity and evolution of scent over time. Plus, they're constantly navigating regulations over ingredients, balancing natural with synthetic, all while chasing an aesthetic goal. Safety protocols are massive too because chemistry is unforgiving, and allergens are no joke. Heck, the wrong compound can land you a migraine, not just a sneeze fest like at your cousin's wedding debacle. These nose professionals could provoke some major olfactory disruptions if they went rogue, yet they stick to innovation within bounds, ensuring safety and striving for sensory delight. It's chemistry coupled with conscience. Sounds less anarchistic when put that way, doesn't it?
Hey, new listeners. You've jumped into our chat about the unsung heroes behind your favorite scents, perfume chemists. They're like scent wizards merging art and science to brew up fragrances that hit you right in the feels. We've been gabbing about how their potion making balances being memorable without overpowering your sniffer. It's a delicate craft, almost like they're olfactory DJs mixing beats for your nose. So, if you've ever wondered why a whiff of perfume can transport you to another world or bring back a flood of memories, these are the folks to thank. They ensure each scent is safe, authentic, and an aromatic high five to your senses.
Imagine if our scent wizards could cook up a fragrance that not only brings back memories, but could also enhance skills or mood on demand, like a focus boost for your brain or an instant calm during rush hour traffic. That's next level alchemy right there.
I mean, come on, Joe. It's one thing to rock a sweet-smelling fragrance, but turning your cologne into some sort of brain-boosting serum or a mood regulator seems like a stretch, even for the scent sorcerer supreme. It's giving me these wild images of people spraying math whiz before an exam or chill vibes in bumper-to-bumper traffic. And wouldn't it just kill personal motivation? Why bother learning meditation or study techniques when you could just mist yourself smart or zen? Plus, imagine screwing that up. Accidentally sprayed party animal instead of Zen master, and now I'm trying to dance on the table during a budget meeting. Oof, talk about perfume pandemonium. Got to take these futuristic fragrance fantasies with a big sniff of doubt, buddy.
You're spot on, Simon. Spraying your way to genius status? That's straight up lazy. Real skills come from grind and hustle, not a magic mist. And hey, I love a good chaos story, but let's keep it in check. Balance, man, that's the key.
Ha, for sure. Imagine perfume chemists' secret labels. Ode to burnout, to clear the office at 5 p.m., or essence of deadline for that last-minute panic-induced productivity. Talk about a fragrant revolution.
Love that chaos concept, Simon. But what do you think the risk is of relying too much on these scented shortcuts instead of building real, hard-earned habits?
The risk? Massive. Next thing you know, we're all nose-deep in dependency on O to get it done instead of actually mastering time management. And let's not forget the times scent campaigns go hilariously off rails, like pizza-scented cologne. Who wakes up wanting to smell like a pepperoni special? Or gyms trying to mask sweat with invigorating ocean breeze. Spoiler, it doesn't mask anything. Now you're just sweaty and salty. Comically bad scent choices aside, real success. That's from old-fashioned elbow grease and learning, not spraying your way out of a corner, my friend.
Totally, Simon. Imagine a world saturated with scents that make everything a breeze. You'd lose touch with reality. We're sure not replacing genuine effort with a spritz of lazy eau de parfum. That said, the craft of scent making is an unseen art. Each fragrance tells a story, triggers a memory, or sets the stage for new ones. Speaking of stories, what's the most bizarre fragrance you've come across in the perfume chemist's arsenal?
Oh, that's an easy one, Joe. Speaking of bizarre fragrances, there was this fast food joint that came out with a burger-scented candle series to promote their brand. I mean, who's lighting a candle to make their place smell like greasy beef and fried onions? Instead of a cozy date night, you've got this weird state fair vibe without any of the fun. But the best part? People actually bought them as gag gifts. It's times like these that blurs the line between clever and crazy in marketing. Makes you wonder, do they understand us at all, or are they just firing darts blindfolded into our scented lives?
I bet their next brilliant idea is eau de fried chicken to complete the fast food ambiance at home. Why bother cooking dinner when you can just light a candle and inhale calories, right? Marketing genius or lunacy, it's a fine line.
Oh, Joe, eau de fried chicken might just break the internet. You'd have folks ditching their dating apps because who needs love when you've got that crispy aroma wafting through your home? But hey, let's talk about that line between genius and wacko. I once caught wind of a gym where they pumped out fresh linen scent to make sweaty workouts more enjoyable. Instead, it turned into this bizarre mix of sweat-soaked shirts and fabric softener. People were choking on their dumbbells while feeling like they were stuck inside a tumble dryer. It's like these brands throw darts at a board of smells and go, "Yeah, that'll work." Someone should tell them that when it comes to noses, there's no one-size-fits-all.
Absolutely, Simon. And who's going to trust a gym that smells like laundry day? The thing is, scents are so personal, so subjective. What reminds one person of a fresh spring meadow might remind another of their grandma's overpowering air freshener. Advertisers aiming for that universal smell appeal are playing olfactory roulette. Sure, it grabs headlines when you've got a pizza perfume or OD office coffee, but let's be real. Most times, these stunts don't make sense. I mean sense. It goes from branding to brand absurdity faster than you can say sensational.
You got it spot on, Joe. There's a thin line between quirky and cringe. OD office coffee might just have folks dodging their desks instead of cozying up to them. What a world of wacky whiffs.
This takes me back to my college days. I had this roommate, absolute prankster, right? So he decides it'll be hilarious to play an olfactory trick on another buddy of ours who was notoriously known for pulling all-nighters. Goes out and buys this concentration incense that supposedly smelled like fresh coffee and vintage library, if you can even picture that. This oddly specific aroma was meant to help with focus, I guess. Well, it ended up stinking up our whole dorm floor. People were popping their heads out, asking if someone burnt a mocha or a textbook. It became this inside joke in our hall. Needing to study? Light the brain booster. It was bizarre but spot on about how these wild scent ideas often end up being more memorable for the laughs than the benefits they claim to offer. And let's just say it didn't improve our study habits, just our camaraderie through shared ridiculousness.
Well, Joe, even if we laugh at brain booster incense shenanigans, there's a flip side. Crazy as it sounds, these zany scent gimmicks get people talking. Maybe they're not really about the so-called perks, but more about the buzz. Just like your dorm story, weird scents create experiences and stories that stick. In the wild world of marketing, that's pure gold. Whether or not they improve our focus, they definitely sharpen our storytelling game.
You've hit the nail on the head, Simon. It's all about the story, the experience. A bizarre scent might not revolutionize your life, but it'll give you a tale to tell at parties. And let's face it, that's what marketers dream of. Their brand, sticking in your memory like an overcooked burger to a pan. Weird works when it comes to making a lasting impression, even if it doesn't make for a lasting product.
Right on, my friend. Ultimately, it's those laughable yet sticky moments we remember. A wacky scent might fade, but the story, that lingers forever. And in the end, isn't that the best success a marketer could sniff out? Makes you wonder what scented saga will waft our way next.
Absolutely, the longevity of those scented stories is remarkable. Speaking of which, let's take a slight turn and look ahead. Picture this: tomorrow's marketplace, fully fragranced. You walk down the street, your phone buzzes, and suddenly you're engulfed in a personalized cloud of your perfect day aroma, pumped out by a smart diffuser as you pass by. With advances in tech and AI, we could see a marketplace where scents are tailored on the fly to our preferences or moods. We've got industries that haven't even dipped their toes into this world yet. Could be exhilarating, but raises questions, right? Like, what kind of regulations will come into play when public spaces get saturated with competing scents?
Exhilarating. Sounds more like a recipe for chaos to me. Imagine a world where you can't walk down the street without being ambushed by an aggressive scent ad or a techno-fragrance attack. With everyone's phone triggering different smells, we'd be living in a constant state of smelly warfare. Plus, let's face it, how many times has tech got our preferences wrong? One day, your phone thinks you're into ocean breeze, and the next thing you know, you're getting blasted with tropical fruit fiesta when you hate pineapples. If scents start popping up out of nowhere, it won't just be about regulations, it'll be about survival.
I couldn't agree more. A sensory overload like that could turn a simple walk to the store into an all-out assault on your nose. Not only would personal space be a thing of the past, but imagine the scent-based misfires. You're right. It'd be downright apocalyptic for people with sensitive senses or allergies. And yeah, if my phone starts deciding I need a spritz of tropical fruit fiesta when I'm just trying to enjoy my coffee, we'll have words. The last thing we need in our tech-driven lives is a misplaced algorithm deciding our scent of the day. Let's hope the scent marketers of the future keep it inviting, not invasive.
Seriously, Joe, could you handle the scent chaos during your morning coffee run? What would be your breaking point in this future scentscape?
Let's flip the script for a second, Simon. While scent chaos does sound like a hectic way to start the day, consider the possibilities if done right. My morning coffee run could be enhanced with a calming whiff of early morning dew without stepping into a garden. Imagine tech smart enough to detect you're stressed and dial down the surrounding commotion with a subtle lavender note. Or an air purifier for your home that doesn't just trap allergens but also releases health-boosting scents based on what your body needs. Managed well, this could revolutionize not just marketing, but our well-being too. The key is finding that sweet spot between beneficial and overpowering, engaging without being disruptive.
Well, Joe, scoring that sweet spot feels like threading a needle while juggling. Tricky, but not impossible. The perk of our smart future could be something like a personal scent playlist, syncing with your daily vibe without causing a public stink apocalypse. The trick will be in crafting tech that's savvy enough to know when and where to spritz that scent soundtrack. If marketers get it right, who knows? Perhaps one day we stroll through a marketplace that's less of an olfactory obstacle course and more of a health-boosting haven, with scents that do us good instead of just smelling good.
Right, personal scent playlists could be a game changer. Smart, subtle, and personalized. That's the dream. The true art will be in making sure these scent notes don't overpower life's natural rhythms.
I'll tell you, Joe, there was this one time on a camping trip, bare basics, me versus wild. No phones, no tech, just nature's playlist, right? As night fell, the woods came alive. It wasn't just sounds, but smells too, like pine and damp earth. That crisp, clean air wasn't just pleasant, it gave me clarity, a sense of peace. Now fast forward to our scent-savvy future. If we could capture that natural balance, tweak it with tech for those city-bound souls, imagine the impact. Just a hint of wilderness to reboot our day. The potential's huge if they can bottle that campfire calm without an app accidentally swapping it for Ode to Skunk. A carefully crafted scent story can change your chapter without rewriting the book.
Absolutely. That's a crisp picture you've painted, Simon. You've mentioned finding this sense of peace surrounded by nature. How do you think we can balance incorporating natural scents into our urban lives without turning it into just another commercial shtick?
Well, Joe, it's all about authenticity, isn't it? If we start slinging fresh forest scents around high rises and it smells like a car air freshener, that's where they'll lose us. It's gotta feel real, not like you just stepped into an artificial fragrance shop. Companies should aim for subtlety, the whiff of a park after rain as you pass a city garden maybe. Match the scent to the setting. Don't force it. If our urban jungles can whisper hints of nature without trying too hard, we might just find ourselves living in the best of both worlds.
But there's a flip side to consider. What if this drive for authentic nature scents becomes just another way to mask the real issues? Like instead of tackling pollution or lack of green spaces in cities, we pipe in pseudo-nature to placate the crowds. Is it genuinely beneficial, or are we just painting over cracks in urban planning with scent? Perhaps rather than trying to artificially recreate these experiences, we should focus on preserving and integrating actual green spaces into our cities. It could be more impactful to invest in real trees than in a tech-generated breeze that smells like trees.
Joe, you've got it spot on. Masking problems with a perfumed veil isn't the answer. It's like slapping a fragrant Band-Aid on a bullet wound. We'd be in deep denial if we thought a synthetic sea breeze could replace clean air initiatives or actual waves crashing against the shore. The charm of real nature can't be coded or bottled up. Investing in planting trees and creating parks, that's where the magic happens. It's the difference between living in a concrete box spritzed with hint of jasmine and lounging in an actual garden. A techie scent might wow us for a minute, but nothing beats the genuine article. It's about priorities. Let's get those right first before we turn to our phones for fake fresh air.
Absolutely. True appreciation for nature's prowess might just be the reality check we need before diving into a high-tech scented future. That blend of genuine connection with our environment and tech-enhanced experiences could lay the foundation for tomorrow's marketplaces. Who knows what scents will drift our way next? What are your thoughts on this fragrant frontier, Simon?
You're spot on, Joe, and it sparks another thought. If we can simulate a forest smell that vividly without trees around, it's kind of like tricking our brains, isn't it? It's wild to think about how scents, real or fake, tap into our emotions and memories. Smell is such a powerful sense linked directly to memory and feeling. When you think about it, whether a scent comes from a pine forest or a lab doesn't change the way it tugs at our heartstrings when we catch a whiff. Now, I'm no brainiac, but that olfactory voodoo must be all sorts of complex chemical wizardry. Like in places where you can't just open a window to let in fresh air, take space stations for instance, They gotta have synthetic smells, right? Or does floating in zero gravity mean you're okay with everything smelling like recycled air and sweat?
Sure, synthetic scents can evoke the same memories as natural ones, but let's not jump the gun here. The brain knows the difference. Olfactory neurons are discerning little things. Synthetic aromas often miss subtle notes or add unwanted ones, changing the emotional response. And on that note, in a closed environment like a space station, why mask the truth? Specific smells signal problems, think burning wires or chemical leaks. Relying too much on synthetics could numb our natural responses to danger. There's validity in having an environment that is as scent neutral as possible, especially when high alertness is crucial for safety.
Yeah, Joe, you make a solid point about safety. Synthetics can mess with our instincts. Like, if every time you burnt toast, it smelt like roses, you'd probably shrug off that burning smell when it's actually your laptop melting down. We've got these built-in warning systems for a reason, right? In enclosed spaces, we rely on our noses to pick up on stuff that's off, to keep us out of trouble. And while those fake scents might be spot on sometimes, they're still just imitations at the end of the day. They're missing that complex, multi-layered signature that Mother Nature nails every time. When it comes down to it, nothing beats the real deal. Those synthetic scents are like cover bands, fun for a minute, but not quite satisfying that itch for genuine aroma rock stars.
True that. Synthetics are a cover band to nature's rock stars, useful in a pinch but can't match the real concert that is authentic scent experiences. Keep it real, or at least know you're faking it.
So, Joe, considering everything we've talked about, what do you think could be a responsible way to integrate synthetic aromas into our lives without dulling our natural instincts or masking the bigger issues?
Synthetic aromas have their place, sure. They're often more stable and consistent than natural scents, which fluctuates with environmental changes. Synthetics can also be a lifeline for people with allergies to certain natural compounds. Plus, let's not forget sustainability. Some natural resources are scarce or involve ethical questions around harvesting. In controlled amounts, synthetics add diversity to our olfactory world without ravaging ecosystems for that perfect smell. We've just got to be smart about it, ensuring we don't oversaturate our environments with these engineered aromas and still value the raw, unscripted beauty of natural scents.
Well, Joe, think about this. Nature isn't exactly cranking out new scents at our pace of demand. Synthetics fill gaps, sure, but at what cost? They give us control. Yeah, but when does it become too much? When a lab-cooked ocean breeze can fool even the sharpest nose, we're playing with fire. If we start preferring these bottled lies because they're cleaner or stronger, what's stopping us from one day just picking scent profiles like we do ringtones? It's like we're teaching our brains to love the fake stuff. Soon, natural smells could turn into these quaint, old-school things we tell our kids about. Back in my day, oranges didn't smell like diesel. There's got to be a line, right? Balancing tech and tradition is more art than science. Better not lose the plot.
Spot on, Simon. That thought hits hard. We're in danger of scripting a future where the very essence of an orange is some nostalgic fairy tale. It's critical to find that balance before the artificial totally eclipses the authentic. It's concerning. Nature might just turn into vintage vibes for the next generation. Let's hope it doesn't come down to story time about the great smell of outdoors. Keep it real. There's our line.
Joe, you're nailing it with the vintage vibes comment. Gotta ask, where do you think that line should be? How much synthetic is too much before we start losing our connection to what's real and truly raw in nature?
Funny you mentioned that line, Simon. I had this basil plant on my windowsill, right? Thriving little thing, added a fresh punch to everything. Then, one miserably cold winter, it died. Life got busy, and instead of getting a new plant, I grabbed a bottle of basil oil. It seemed smart, a convenient, potent alternative. Months go by, I'm doling out drops into dishes, but then spring rolls around. I pass by this community garden with real basil wafting through the air. It was like a gut punch of nostalgia, man. The synthetic stuff couldn't hold a candle to it. It made me realize when the substitute stops being a stopgap and starts becoming the new normal, that's the line. We've lost something critical if we reach for the bottle before the soil. It reminds us to respect and preserve those genuine raw elements before they become just another throwback.
I hear you, Joe, but let's play devil's advocate for a sec. Maybe we shouldn't be so quick to bust on synthetic scents. Hear me out. What if for some people, that bottle of basil oil is the closest they'll get to the real deal? Maybe they're city folks with no garden in sight, or maybe they just can't afford fresh herbs regularly. That little bottle brings a slice of something finer, more flavorful into their lives, without the hassle of growing or buying fresh all the time. In places where fresh isn't an option, who's to say synthetic doesn't deserve a high five? So yeah, nothing beats fresh basil, no arguments here. But in a pinch, when life's practicalities bulldoze over ideals, a whiff from that basil bottle isn't just faking it, it's making do. It's about context. Not everyone's got the luxury of choosing authenticity every time.
You've got a point, Simon. In some scenarios, those synthetics are stepping in like unsung heroes. It's about access and affordability, entirely valid reasons to go synthetic. We're creatures of adaptation after all. But let's not forget the bigger picture. We adapt now, sure. But how do these choices shape our future relationship with the real McCoy? When does convenience start to dull our senses to what's genuinely out there? What say you, listeners? Where do you draw your line in the sandalwood-scented beach?
Oh, the world of knockoff perfumes. That's a rabbit hole and a half. Get this, Joe. I once got gifted a perfume called Chanel No. 6, supposedly one step better than number 5. Spoiler, it wasn't.
Haha, Chanel No. 6. That's hilarious. You sure it wasn't just a typo on the bottle? All right, folks, thanks for lending us your ears. Remember to tune back in tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern for more stories, laughs, and maybe some high-end perfume tips from Simon here. Catch you all next time.